Hello. Hi. Am I audible? Just checking if uh, I'm being heard. Hello, hi. Hi, guys. Hi. Hi, Vani. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. Okay, great. So Dr. Achyuthan will be joining us very soon. I'm just waiting to add him onto the live. I hope that you and your family are all doing well in these difficult times, and you're staying home and staying safe. Today's live, we will be talking about nutrition, COVID-19 and comorbidities. We did get quite a few questions from you all, so we are looking forward to answering them. We'll do a little bit of an introduction to nutrition and comorbidities itself, and then move on to answering questions. And if anyone has any further questions as we go along the conversation, please feel free to keep commenting. We'll try and answer as many as possible today. Yeah, that's great to see you all joining us this evening. So we are just waiting for Dr. Achyuthan to join us. Hi Priya. Hi. Okay, and we're on. So welcome everyone, welcome to today's live. Is my head getting cut off? Okay, welcome to today's live. We are so happy to have you all here with us. As I earlier just was mentioning, today we'll be talking about nutrition, COVID-19 and comorbidities. We'll just wait for a few more people to join. Yeah, okay, that's great. So I think let's get started with an introduction. So maybe we can just start off, get right in the middle of it and talk about the situation in general with respect to what is happening today, and probably a brief introduction of how nutrition and what role nutrition plays with COVID and comorbidities.
Sure. Since the COVID-19 pandemic started in 2019, there has been a lot of talk on preventing the transmission, which is great. Like, we need to make sure that we do everything that we can to make sure that the virus does not transmit from one person to the next, with masks, social distancing, staying at home, making sure that you meet as few people as possible. But equally important is to make sure that we prevent deadly COVID-19 infections. So we've learned from the very beginning that there are a few people who are especially susceptible to developing severe infections. People who have diabetes, people who have hypertension, heart disease, obesity. And we know with research that has been done for the past several decades that these diseases are preventable, treatable, and even reversible in the majority of patients, as long as we eat a healthy enough diet and follow healthy enough lifestyle.
Great. So, Dr. Achyuthan, you've been treating people with lifestyle diseases specifically for the last many years. So, can you tell us a little bit about some of the lifestyle diseases that are, increasing risk during the COVID-19 pandemic, and how prevalent are these? Like, what are we talking about?
Sure. So the diseases that have been identified to increase risk. The first one is diabetes, staying obese, staying overweight, the hypertension, heart disease, and asthma, which are all chronic lifestyle diseases. So there are also other risk factors, like if you're of advanced age, then you have a slightly higher risk. But we can't get younger, but we can definitely get healthier. healthy. Diabetes, for example, is a disease that a lot of people mistakenly think comes because we eat a lot of sugar. Well, actually, it is because of the buildup of fat in our liver, in our muscles, in our pancreas, which causes insulin resistance. Hypertension is caused by the free radical damage that stiffens our arteries. Heart disease is caused by plaque inside our arteries. Once again, comes from the free radical damage. And all of these gets worse when we're overweight or obese. The good news is that every one of these diseases is primarily caused due to an unhealthy diet, a lack of exercise, and mental stress, out of which diet plays the most important role. When we fix the diet, we immediately see an instant change, instant improvement in most of these diseases in a majority of patients. We've had people with diabetes bring their sugar levels back to normal with less medications than before, less blood pressure with less medications, lesser weight while eating more, and that's the kind of amazing benefits that a healthy lifestyle has.
Absolutely. For people who are joining us in here for the first time and who don't know much about, what are the general dietary guidelines that people with these comorbidities see best results from. If you could just introduce that to everyone and also, talk about the kind of results that you get to see, because a lot of people also feel that once they're genetically predisposed to certain things, there isn't much you can do. So maybe we can focus a little bit on a whole food plant-based diet and kind of introduce it to people who are listening to it for the first time.
Sure. A lot of my patients, when they first come to me, think that they are victims of their genes. My mother had diabetes, so I'm probably going to get diabetes when I grow up. It start off as a condition that is inevitable as you grow older. But the truth is, a majority of the risk of developing diabetes comes from our lifestyle. No matter whether you have the genes or not, if your diet and lifestyle go wrong, that's when you have a high risk of developing the disease. So, if you avoid the foods that are going to build up fat in your muscles, in your liver, in your pancreas, if you avoid the foods that are going to increase free radical production, free radical damage, that have a low antioxidant content, then you will be able to effectively prevent these diseases in a majority of cases. So, to put it in a nutshell, this means that we need to avoid eating or reduce, minimize animal foods and processed foods such as meat, fish, eggs, dairy products, milk, curds, cheese, yogurt, paneer, butter, and ghee, as well as processed foods, not just packaged foods, but stuff we use in our kitchen like oil, sugar, jaggery, white rice, maida, and alcohol. Next question on your mind is probably what you eat, because these are the foods we eat every day, right? The answer to that is we need to eat a wide variety of whole, unprocessed plant foods. I just saw a comment saying my voice is echoing. Let me try turn this off.
Is it better now?
Your screen is kind of frozen. You're back.
So I hope it is not echoing. Oops. Still echoing.
It's not unclear. Is your voice unclear? Are people not able to hear?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sounds like Shall I just try disconnecting and joining back?
Yeah, maybe that will help.
All right.
Sure. So in the meanwhile, if anyone has any questions, we are going to dive right in now to some of the questions that you already asked us in the question answer tag that we had left and in the comments. So, Is this better? Is it still echoing? Is my voice still echoing? You can't hear me, is it? Okay, you can hear me? I don't know who now. I don't know. Okay, mine is fine. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Cool. I just think it's the room that he was sitting in. No, we are not in the same room. But I think the room that he was sitting in kind of echoes. So he's just moved to a different place. And okay, great. Thank you. Wonderful. So let me get Achyuthan back on and okay. Wonderful. So we should be back in a few seconds. Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to start. I'm going to now ask some of the questions that you guys had and some of the observations that we have seen over the last few months with COVID patients that Dr. Achyuthan has worked with. So we'll dive right into that once he joins back. Oh, we have a couple of more questions. Cool. I have invited Dr. Achyuthan to join. Okay. Great. Now speak.
Great. I hope I'm not echoing now. Yes, it sounds much better. All right, let's do this.
Okay, so as I was saying, let's dive right into some of the questions that people had. One of the first ones is from a bunch of people actually wrote to us saying that they have had no history of diabetes, but after their COVID-19 treatment, their blood sugar levels have been fluctuating, and they are in quite a fix because they don't know what to do and what the protocol is. Does this mean that they're now diabetic, or there is a little bit of that happening? So maybe you can address that question.
Sure. This is a trend we've been observing for the last few months. It's been published in countries all over the world, where after you recover from COVID-19 infection, you're suddenly diabetic. Your sugar levels shoot up and they stay up for a few days. Now, this could be due to one of two reasons. One is the virus could be causing some kind of insulin resistance, which means it could be, causing a buildup of fat in your liver, in your muscles, and preventing the insulin from being able to act properly. So what happens is every time we eat food, glucose gets digested and absorbed and goes to every cell of the body. Without insulin, it can't enter the cells. The insulin acts like a key that opens the door and lets glucose into the cell. Right? The problem is, if this door is jammed up, it's clogged up with fat, the door is not able to open, even though there's insulin and glucose waiting right outside. That's called insulin resistance. The second thing that will be happening is the virus may be affecting the pancreas directly, causing a reduction in the insulin production itself. So if there's less insulin or the insulin is not working correctly, one of these two could be causing the diabetes. We don't yet know which one it is. We don't yet know the mechanisms. But we do know that for some people after COVID-19 infection, once they recover, sugar levels start fluctuating and they're all of a sudden diabetic. right? And that makes it even more important to adopt a healthy diet before, during, or after the infection, whatever stage you're in, to make sure that you're able to bring your sugar levels back down, back to normal, and let it stay there permanently.
Yeah, that's good to know that there's something that they can do about it right away. Another question that we got was actually I think someone who's been following us for a while, because they said that they keep going on and off a whole food plant-based diet. They're not able to stay consistent, and they are overweight. So there is a huge concern now because obesity is one of the comorbidities, and the risks are so much higher. So in this current situation where there's already a lot of stress, and you're at home, you're locked up, maintaining a healthy diet and focusing on your nutrition becomes all the more hard. So can you give a few tips to people who have been finding it difficult to stay consistent now with the added impact of stress and being at home? Like, what are some of the things that they can do to get healthier and perhaps move closer to their ideal weight?
Sure, you're right. Being overweight has been found to be a risk factor for increasing the severity of COVID-19 infection. Whether you're overweight or normal weight doesn't make a difference in whether you get the infection or not. But once you get it, it decides whether you just have a cold cough fever and you recover in a few days, or you end up getting admitted in the ICU with even a risk of fatality. In fact, studies have found that your risk might be as much as 4 to 5 times higher to get admitted in the ICU if you're overweight. That's a huge difference. So, if you have not contracted COVID-19, it makes a lot of sense to make sure that you fix your diet now and bring your weight back to normal before you get the disease, God forbid. But in case it happens, then it's a very, very important and powerful step you can take in preventing a severe disease. So what differentiates a plant-based diet from a typical diet is that diets don't work, because you go on a diet, at some point you're bound to go off the diet and all the weight is going to come back on. But instead, if you adopt a permanent lifestyle change the way you look at food, change the way you approach cooking itself, then you can adopt a permanent health in your life. The key word that distinguishes a plant-based diet is called calorie density. And that's what allows you to eat more and weigh less. For example, just a quick demonstration. If you take one sweet, a cup of gulab jamun, that has the same number of calories as about a 3/4 kg of a fruit like watermelon. If you eat one cup of gulab jamun, you are not going to be full. You're going to get more hungry. You're going to feel like having another cup. But you eat 3/4 of a kg of watermelon, that's going to fill you up. Right? 2 tablespoons of oil, for example, have about the same number of calories as a whole plate full of vegetables. 2 tablespoons of oil are not going to fill you up. Your plate full of vegetables are. The difficulty for most people is deciding to start and learning how to do it. So to make that happen, we have created a complete online course called the Plant-Based Diet Masterclass on our website nutritionscience.in, where you can sign up from home and learn everything you need to know about healthy eating. And, we have designed it together. We've created every kind of resource, from recipes. There are over 200 recipes. There are over 21 days of meal plans. There are more than 50 videos. There's a support group. There are regular live classes that happen. You get all the information and the support you need to make a change. Right? But I'd like to throw this question back at you, because you give fantastic practical tips on implementing a plant-based diet. So what do you think? What are the easiest things people can do to make a change in their homes today?
I think one of the things that really helped me when I started out was to focus on adding good things into your diet instead of trying to eliminate things, because there is a little bit of a stress associated with that. For example, if I'm used to, having dairy, or if I'm used to having something on a regular basis, thinking of missing out on that probably prevents me from starting out in the first place. So what really helped me was fruits, I think, because fruits are just so simple. You can just living in a tropical country like India, you get fruits, fresh local seasonal fruits all year round. So starting your meals with fruits, I think, is a great idea. Replacing your breakfast with a fruit based breakfast is again a great idea. Achyuthan, you've been asked to speak louder. So, replacing your breakfast with a fruit-based diet is another recommendation that I think goes a long way. What also helped me was keeping healthy snacks around, because when I used to feel peckish, and even more so now in the lockdown, because you're now eating when you're bored, you're stressed, you're working all day. So I think it's a really, really good idea to either make some laddus or something without sugar, maybe using, there are recipes on nutritionscience.in, so you can check them out. You can make it very simple to make. So making these snacks, or even keeping some dry fruits and nuts just handy at all times. So when you're hungry, you tend to just pick at the first thing that's next to you, even when you're bored, you don't want to put in all that much effort. So I think having something handy, and keeping away, like, don't buy deep fried snacks, or don't buy sugar heavy stuff. Don't keep it around you, because honestly, what we surround ourselves with is what we're going to reach out for right away. And the third tip is to constantly educate yourself and keep reading, and surround yourself with positive content around health, because sometimes our mindset plays a bigger role than anything else. Because if we decide that healthy is something bad or something boring or something that you associate with a diet or whatever, you're not likely to take it on and do it joyously. On this note, I want to request all of you to check out the Nutrition Science website. We have, kind of revamped the homepage, and we have a lot of information that is out there for you. That it's very visual, so it's very easy for you to learn. So just surround yourself with content that is health focused. Try out new recipes. So keep that curiosity alive and keep that going. I think these are the three things I would say, especially during this time, to get started on. Okay. So with that, I'm going to ask you the next question that we got, which was about hair fall. So plenty of people have noticed severe hair fall post COVID-19. So what are some of the things that they should keep in mind? One, nutritionally speaking, what is it that they should look out for? Second is, are there any supplements that they should be looking at taking specifically to deal with this issue?
Sure. So hair fall during or immediately after any kind of infection is actually quite common. When you go through an infection, when you go through that the fever and all of those symptoms, immediately after that, your body tends to skimp out on internal hair maintenance and the hair fall occurs. But soon it rebounds back, it comes back to normal. And what we need to keep in mind is to give the body the resources it needs in order to bring itself back to a state of health. That's very important. As long as it has what it needs to stay healthy, our bodies can do a fantastic job of keeping themselves healthy. So, number one, the whole food plant-based diet, and number two, the supplements that we're talking about. Right? There are two supplements that I recommend for everyone. One is vitamin D, which is not made by plants; it's made by animals. So either spend 20 minutes in direct sunlight every day. Your face and arms are more than enough, but they need to be exposed to direct sunlight, not through a window and not through sunscreen. The other option is to go in for a vitamin D3 supplement of 2000 units every day, preferably after the largest meal of the day. Usually that's lunch. The second supplement is vitamin B12, which is a vitamin that is not made by plants, not made by animals, but rather made by bacteria that live in nature, that live in mud and rivers and streams and ponds and lakes and wells. As long as we were living a natural lifestyle where we had river water and we were getting you know, uh, the mud under our fingernails while eating, we got a steady source of vitamin B12, but then we also got worm infections and diarrhea. since we live a more sanitized lifestyle in the city now, we recommend a vitamin B12 supplement of cyanocobalamin, 70 micrograms a day until age 65, and above that, 1000 micrograms a day. In fact, we have even made a laddu in Sampurna Ahara called Flax Seed B12 laddu, which gives you a double benefit. It's delicious and it helps you to meet your B12 requirements every day, and it helps you to meet your flax seed requirements every day. A lot of people talk about how much iron do I need, how much calcium do I need, how much of B12 do I need. But we need to shift the focus from how much of nutrients do we need to how much of foods do we need. For example, most people don't realize that if we don't eat fruits on a daily basis, we consciously increase our risk of chronic disease. For example, people who eat, say, 200 grams of fruits as compared to people who eat 400 have an increased risk of strokes and heart disease of about 10 to 15%. But if you eat that 350 to 400 grams of fruits a day, then you have the lowest risk of heart disease. Still not zero, but then practically nothing in life is zero risk. What we can do is aim for lowest risk. So fruits, vegetables, green leaves, and among those, one extremely important food in Dr. Michael Greger's daily dozen is flax seeds. Most of us don't even have that as part of our diet, but it's there in so many traditional Karnataka recipes and so many traditional recipes all over India. And we have created that into a laddu, which we serve with every meal at Sampurna Ahara. It comes as a small dessert, and people can also get it separately. They can subscribe to it so that you have one a day or two a day to meet your B12 and flaxseed requirements.
On the note, I also want to add that flaxseed does not have B12 because we have got that question in the past. These laddus are B12 fortified. So, if you don't be under the impression that if you grind up flax seeds and eat them regularly, you will also meet your B12 requirements. And honestly, I think only once we started eating the laddus, our B12 levels were also consistently on the right direction because we would keep forgetting to take the we would keep forgetting to take the tablets. So yeah, that is definitely it. Another question on the same lines was people asking about post COVID there is a lack of appetite. You're still not able to taste much. So in a situation like that, how do you improve nutritional intake? Because you first of all don't feel like eating, and now you also have to watch what you eat, include greens, include this, include that. So what are some tips that you can give caregivers? What can they do to kind of increase the intake of food when appetite is low and when taste buds are a little dulled down?
Sure. So let me share some feedback that we've received from some of our patients and some of our clients in Sampurnahara, people who've been diagnosed with COVID-19 and who've taken our COVID-19 meal deliveries. I have a COVID-19 meal package for the patients who are right now undergoing the infection and for patients who have recovered from it once they come out this COVID-19 recovery program as well. What they say is when they eat our meals, they feel great afterwards. You feel light. You feel like the energy levels are not as bad. You don't feel the fatigue. You don't feel the discomfort as much as you would when you eat a normal regular meal that we're used to eating. And they, and recently, a couple of days back, the first ever study on plant-based nutrition and COVID-19 has come out, assessing almost 600 people and splitting them into people who have been on plant-based diets and who eat a normal diet. And that found that people who eat a plant-based diet have more than a 70% reduction in risk of developing a severe COVID-19 infection.
Wow.
So I'd say the biggest step you can take towards a quick recovery from COVID-19 is to prevent a severe infection in the first place. I'd say
First.
even if whether you have the infection now or not, it makes sense to completely change your diet. Start eating healthy, start eating plant-based, start eating more plant-based than before at least, and start moving towards a healthier diet. So In Bangalore, if you live in Bangalore, then we'd be happy to help and support you with our meal deliveries. We deliver them to your doorstep. Uh, you don't have to worry about cooking and learning at a time when you're unwell. You can just get it delivered home, and you can enjoy your delicious meals, which even if you don't have much taste, even if you're not able to taste much, will leave you feeling good, feeling light, and feeling a little more energetic. That's the case.
Yeah, the feeling after the meal really makes a difference. At least you look forward to the feeling, so you end up eating the meals. That is true. Another feedback that we've also gotten is from people who have ordered specials like cakes and things like that. In general, that would be a bad idea to eat cakes and chocolates and things like that when you're just recovering from an infection. But because they are whole food plant-based, they're made with healing ingredients like dates and nuts and things that your body actually needs. When you disguise it in these snacks and cakes and other goodies, we've also received feedback that that has worked very well for people. Yeah, thank you. The next question that someone asked was, what do you do to improve iron levels post COVID, and what do you do if your levels are clinically low after the infection? So both in terms of a general, how do you improve iron levels, and what do you do specifically when you have your blood work is not where it should be?
Sure. So for a number of infections, especially bacterial infections, not so much as viral, bacterial infection, what the body does is it reduces iron absorption consciously. It says, even if you eat iron, I'm not going to absorb it, because even the bacteria need iron to survive. And so it says, let me reduce the amount of iron running around in my blood on a bet that I can survive for longer than the bacteria can.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
it reduces iron absorption. Then after the infection, it increases it back up so that you can start eating healthier and gaining it back. And what we need to do at that time is to eat plenty of iron-rich foods. You have soya beans, cashew nuts, there are green leafy vegetables. You just Google iron-rich plant foods, you'll get a whole big list of them. So make sure you include them in your diet on a daily basis, along with a dash of lemon juice or any other high foods that are high in vitamin C, like Amla. If it comes to lemon juice, you'll need to put at least like two whole lemons in your food to get a boost in iron absorption. But if you have one amla and you grate it into your food, like we do at Sampurna Ahara, every single Sampurna Ahara meal has an amla in it. Most people don't realize it because I don't like amla, but I love the salad. That's what happens. You shave amla into a salad, you grate it into a salad. It tastes amazing, and you don't even realize it's there. So that's a great way of boosting iron absorption. Having said all of this, if your iron levels are still low, please consult your physician. Make sure that you're able to figure out what is the reason for it, and if need be, you may even need to take supplements to bring it back up. But even then, you'll be able to maintain your iron levels by consuming a healthier, iron-rich, plant-based diet. On the other hand, a lot of people consume animal foods for increasing iron. But research has found that when we consume heme iron found in animal foods, that increases our risk for developing a lot of chronic diseases, that increases cancer risk, for example. So we don't recommend it. Non-heme iron found in plants is what is recommended for increasing your iron levels in a healthy manner.
Wonderful. So what I'm hearing as a thing is, whether it is hair loss or lowered iron levels, there's no need to panic after something like this, but to actually just calm down and logically work on nutrition. So these are not abnormal, or these are not something that we should fear or panic, because in today's environment, there's a lot of panic that's already happening, and people are taking all sorts of supplements, multivitamins, vitamin C, and much of it in excess. Maybe we should do a separate video on that. So there's no need to panic, but just understand that some of these things are the body's natural response, and with good nutrition and with sound rest and other things in place, these things will come back to normal. We just have to focus on giving it the right nutrition. Is that
Absolutely. You just think of this statistic, right? wearing a mask reduces your risk of developing COVID, of contracting COVID-19 by around 70 to 80%. It's not foolproof, right? But it reduces it by 70 to 80%. Eating a healthy diet also seems to reduce your risk of developing a severe disease by more than 70%. So, it's on par. You wear a mask, go out because it's common sense. I'm going to wear a mask, especially if I'm in a room with a bunch of other people. Like that, it should be common sense to say, I'm going to eat this healthy meal because it's going to protect me in case I get the infection, prevent a severe infection. And even especially if you're diabetic or obese to begin with, diabetics, for example, if you have poorly controlled diabetes, if your blood sugar goes above 180, then this is from research that was conducted early on in China when COVID-19 started. They found that people who have severe diabetes that was not well controlled, who ended up in the hospital with COVID-19, 11% of them went on to develop severe infection and landed in the ICU. But among diabetics who had well controlled, where the blood sugar was less than 180, I'm not even talking ideal, ideal is less than 140, but anything less than 180, and that was only a 1% of them who went to the ICU. So regardless of what your health status is, start taking steps today towards healthier living, towards a healthier diet and a healthier lifestyle. You use the tools that we have on nutritionscience.in. If you're unsure of what to do, get a few meals from sampurnahara.com. Have a practical experience. It's never been easier to adopt a healthier diet. You get food at your doorstep that is completely planned nutritionally well. You get recipes, you get videos, you get guidance, handholding from all of us. We'll be happy to support you and your families to adopt a healthier diet, a healthier lifestyle, and make sure that you're protected from this disease as much as possible.
Absolutely. I think someone also rightly commented saying food is medicine. I think that's where it all begins, right? Where we take care of what we eat. So one of the other questions that somebody had left us yesterday was about protein. So post-COVID recovery, what is the role protein plays? How important is it? Should we take additional steps to consume excess protein? They asked if we had to focus on it. If so, what are the foods that you would recommend and where do you get it from? Or if if what we are giving at Sampurna Ahara is enough. And this is, I'm sure, this is a question I'm sure a lot of people have, because there is a fear that you don't get enough protein as it is. But post an infection, what role does protein play?
Sure. It's a great question. You should also be asking, how much fiber do I need to get? How much antioxidants, how much of phytonutrients do I need to get? And when you ask all of these questions, you find that when you consume a well-balanced, whole food, plant-based diet, you eat your enough whole grains like brown rice, red rice, millets, whole wheat. You eat enough dals, you eat enough legumes, vegetables, green leafy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices, which all go into a regular Indian cooking. You can get much more than the protein that you require. In fact, on average, people who are non-vegetarian, vegetarian, even vegan, end up eating about 60-70% more protein than what they need. So protein is not a nutrient of concern as long as you are not starving. If you're starving, if you don't have food to eat, if you're malnourished, then not only do you not get protein, you also don't get most other essential nutrients that you need to survive. Right? That's a different story. Unless that's happening, as long as you're eating a well-balanced diet, then you don't need to worry about protein at all. In fact, every Sampurna Ahara meal has about 30 to 35 grams of protein, which is the ideal amount of protein, plus a little more that a healthy person requires to stay healthy.
Wonderful. So what I'm hearing is that we don't need to take excess protein in the recovery process, but focus on a balanced nutritional portfolio where you're getting enough fiber, you're getting enough antioxidants, and you ensure that you're getting enough protein, but not excessively focus on it. So there's no need for supplementation or protein powders or anything of that sort.
That's
Okay.
right.
Great, great. Someone also asked, how do you manage stress levels and anger in this situation? Because someone just commented that some time back. Because you're locked in. Most of us may not have help at home. You're working. You're taking care of children who are not going to school and things like that. So, if you can suggest some things that we can do to keep stress levels down, I'm also going to add to their question and ask, how do you take all the load off yourself? Like, what do you do to, because I'm sure even food wise, children might be fussy, you might need to cook different things for different people. So, how do you then, what do you do to kind of ease that load?
Sure. I think we should answer this together. I'll answer the first part about. So there are two things that we need to consider. One is the situations that are causing us stress: the lockdown, the work at home, kids at home, family at home. Staying with five other people the whole day, staying alone the whole day. Each one of them is a stressful situation by itself. The second is how our mind responds to those stressful situations. Right? For example, let's say that you're stuck in the middle of traffic, which it's been a long time since we got out of COVID actually
I
experienced
think
it, but
people will
let's
wish
take that
for
as
it
an
now.
I know. Yeah. So, let's say you're stuck in the middle of traffic and someone's honking their horn really loudly. Out of 25 people on the road, five will get irritated. The other 20 are not even going to bother. Right? Same situation, but different reactions. Now, the way the mind responds in these stressful situations depends on how it has been trained to do so by circumstances and by yourself. So, if we practice conscious relaxation, meditation on a daily basis, and train our mind to respond with relaxation rather than respond with stress, then even in the middle of a stressful situation, our mind has the ability to keep itself calm without us needing to put any additional effort. Because in the middle of a stressful situation, it's difficult to stay calm. But when we train the mind before, it's easy, it just happens naturally. So I'd like to pass on the second part of that question to you of, how do we handle these situations a lot better? You're much better at it than I am.
So I would say that when you are living in a household of people and you have a lot of work, split the chores, especially with children. Like, I can talk about when I was a child. I used to really love cleaning the house. This might sound strange because, like, what child likes to sweep and mop the floor? But it was introduced to me as a fun activity where, there would be water on the floor and you're slipping and sliding around. And there's also, like, my father used to show me how to wipe the floor neatly and things like that. So it was a really fun activity. I really enjoyed it, and I still till today enjoy it. So, like, washing vessels, cleaning the house is something I enjoy doing because that's how it was introduced to me as a child. That they didn't introduce it to me as, oh, there's some punishment if you don't do it, but as a fun activity. So I think that's a great way of involving children in household chores and activities. And also, this is something that I see you recommending all the time, to involve children in the cooking itself. So maybe start off with something simple, where they're not using knives or going near the stove because it might be very new to them, but supervised, but something that's maybe they can, knead the dough or roll out chapatis and things like that. I think involving people at home in activities really help. The second thing is also to take some time out for yourself. I also think that meditative music, sitting by yourself in silence, sometimes if you have it's a good time to grow a plant. Just have a tiny little seedling that you're growing, because even that can be a huge stress relief. I think these are all small things. They may seem like, oh, does this really work? But it really, really does. So yeah, that's just a couple of things that I would like to suggest. So one other question that we had right now was: is it okay to have frozen amla or powdered amla if you don't get fresh amla? What is the nutritional difference, and what do you recommend?
Sure, absolutely. So if it's been frozen as soon as it's harvested, it's actually retains most of its nutrition, especially in terms of phytonutrient content. Powdered amla may be slightly less than fresh, but it's easier, it's more convenient. You're going to eat a little more of it, so it kind of balances out. No matter what kind of amla you have, whether it's fresh, frozen, or dry, go ahead and make sure you have amla in your diet every day. That helps for a whole bunch of things. It's been proven to improve your from iron absorption that we talked about, to reducing cholesterol, reducing sugar levels, reducing your the molecule called lipoprotein A, which is a genetic marker for developing heart disease. Whether you eat a healthy diet, lifestyle, nothing impacts lipoprotein A. If you have a genetic predisposition, it's going to be high. But if you eat amla every day, it's been found to reduce. It's practically the only thing that works. So, and it's also the healthiest food on the planet in terms of vitamins and concentration. So, I'd recommend getting it into your diet in any manner possible on a daily basis.
Great. That's really good to hear for people who don't get fresh amla. This is a great option. So in that case, you can also put powdered amla in your smoothie and things like that. So that would also work.
Absolutely.
Great.
In fact, many of our breakfast jars at Sampurnahara have amla hidden in them. People don't realize.
People don't realize it, right? So there was one more question which was exercise related. I will ask it. If you could answer, I will also add to it. What about exercise? Should we get into it right away? How do you ease into it? When is the right time to get back to whatever level of exercise you were at before the infection? After the recovery process. So, would you like to talk about the body state after the infection in terms of taking on heavy physical exercise?
Sure. So it may take you a few days to regain your energy after an infection, but it gets a lot faster when you're on a healthy diet. And within just a few days itself, you should be able to start getting back to your exercise routine. What I'd recommend is to ease back into it slowly and do only as much as you can for a few days to a week or two. Right? And then after that, I think Shyamla would be the best person to answer.
So one of the things is it depends on the severity of the infection. If it's something that's mild, you haven't had to go to the hospital, or if your O2 levels have been stable, you can continue doing mobility work at home. So mobility just means kind of rotational movements. You can look up mobility routines on YouTube. There are plenty of really good ones. So they're not something that will exert the body, but it will still keep the body moving, and it'll make you feel nice without stressing out the body. So I think if you've already been stretching, mild stretching, please don't overdo it. This is not the time to test your flexibility limits, but just keep the body moving, keep the blood flow going. This may also aid a little bit in your recovery process. But if you are someone who has been hospitalized or have been on steroid-based treatments, I would really recommend to wait, because especially people who've had steroid treatments, you might feel great immediately after because of the effects of the steroid. So don't get fooled into thinking that you can go back to your previous activity levels. Give it some time. Once you're completely off medication, you'll have to start from scratch. Unfortunately, the first few months are going to be difficult. It's going to be a lot of rebuilding. I would again suggest focus mostly on mobility, and once you've completely recovered, start adding strength-based routine with a good diet and proper sleep. So a little bit of listening to your body and also taking it really, really slow. For people who've had severe setbacks, maybe get back to your previous routine maybe in a couple of months. So obviously it differs from person to person, but I would say take it slow and be cautious about it. We've also received some questions right now. I'm going to put it on the screen. So do you want to answer this? Can you see the question?
Sure. I'm unable to read it fully though.
It says a lot of importance is given to eating foods grown locally and local foods that our grandparents ate. However, off late, I suppose they want to say that off late, a lot of the food is grown using a lot of chemicals, and processed and adulterated food has entered the market like never before. So, what suggestions do you have for something like this?
Sure. So interestingly, local traditional seasonal varieties of food have almost the same quantity of vitamins, minerals, fiber, water, all of the traditional nutrients. They're about the same as food that have been grown with pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, chemicals. But the one aspect that they differ completely is in their antioxidant phytonutrient content. The nutrients that are going to help us stay healthy, bring down our sugar levels, bring down our weight, and reduce our risk of chronic disease as well as severe COVID-19 infection. So, whenever possible, it's always best to choose local, it's always best to choose seasonal. But even if you don't get those, it's better to eat a fruit than not eat a fruit at all. It's as simple as that, right? And the best way to wash any food that has been grown with pesticides is to wash it in 10% salt water. You soak it for 10 to 20 minutes and then rinse it in running tap water, and that helps you to get rid of almost all of the pesticide residue on the outside. So you can use that method. Or if you want to get it at a lower price, if you want to get it with less hassle, then you can check out our sister initiative, farmfreshbangalore.com, where we've created a farmer community and a subscriber community in Bangalore that runs on a subscription basis, where you sign up for a weekly basket, and depending on the number of people at home and your exact nutritional requirements, we plan a complete nutritional package, which is completely whole food plant based, by the way. It has your amla and your greens and your fruits. A lot of people keep telling us that, I never ate so much greens before subscribing to your package, and now I'm forced to eat it because it comes home. And it feels great. I've gotten into the habit.
Wonderful. So yeah, that is great to kind of work with these community-supported agriculture initiatives. Okay, wait. I think they're adding to the question. Is it okay to eat newer, unfamiliar foods in the market? Would you say as long as, I mean, the two questions, maybe just check if they are whole foods and if they're plant-based. So maybe you want to explain that part.
Absolutely. It doesn't. So there are two questions that you can ask yourself before eating any food. The first one, does it come from a plant or from an animal? Right? If it comes from a plant, you move on to the next question. Is this a whole food, or has it been processed in any way? In our masterclass, we go deep into the complete meaning and total understanding of these two questions. To give you a brief understanding of that, processed food, put very simply, is any food from which something good is removed or something bad is added. Right? If neither of these have happened, then it's a whole food. So if it's a new fruit that you want to try, great. And if it's a new fruit juice with added sugar, probably not.
Not. Great. So it depends on what the food is. Okay, so I think we'll take one last question. I think that is there. And okay, this. Can you see the question?
No, I don't think it is appeared.
It's on the screen. Okay, you can read it. I'm not able to see the full question. So if you can just go on to the question mark at the bottom of your screen, can you see the question tag? So.
No, I think only you're able to see it. Is it about the gastritis?
No, I think it's about epilepsy. On a plant-based diet. Will a plant-based diet help with myoclonic epilepsy?
Okay. I'm unsure about this specific condition, but please feel free to send us a message. We'll be more than happy to look up the research and let you know if there's anything that's been found out in that area.
Okay, great. So I'll end with the last question. I think there are some others, but okay, there's someone who says, I'm COVID negative since 12 days, but I have acute yeah, can you see the gastritis question with acid reflux?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right? So you have gastritis, you have acidity. Great. I'm very happy to hear that you have recovered from COVID. That's wonderful. The shortness of breath, unfortunately, will stick around for quite some time, but you can improve it by eating a healthy plant-based diet and practicing breathing exercises every day significantly. The gastritis, the two things in food that can help you to improve it. One is to avoid any food that is high in fat. The more fat content of your food, the worse the gastritis will be, especially if it has acid reflux. So, any oil, any dairy products, completely eliminate them from your diet. And the second thing is to avoid chilies and tamarind until you're able to recover a little more. The gastritis could be an effect of the infection, or it could be an effect of the medications that you are taking. In either case, chilies and tamarind may irritate the gastric lining directly. Avoiding them for a few days until you recover would help you to significantly improve it, apart from avoiding oil and dairy products.
All right. So I think we'll close it out now. We've gone on for just about an hour. So yeah. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We'll probably do a follow-up session specifically on building immunity during COVID times and supplementations, what is required and what is not, because that is a whole other topic that will take probably another hour to work on. So yeah, thank you so much. We will announce the next couple of sessions shortly, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and start eating healthy. Do check out our Nutrition Science website. There is a lot of information. It's very visual. You can easily learn and try out some new recipes as well. So.
Lovely. Thank you all so much for coming today. It's wonderful meeting you all. And we'll be doing another live program on our website shortly. So do join us there for any of our courses, and we'll send you a link to join and ask us more questions. Have a great day.